Chapter 34, Chapter 0034, Demon Slayer, A Love Story. 1. Your life becomes more and more happy. Based on your information, the Demon Slayer team successfully beheaded all the lower moon demons. Since they dispatched Hashiro's level powerhouses, they did not have too many casualties, but the demons paid a heavy price. After hearing this news, the morale of all members of the Demon Slayer squad was boosted. However, you don't feel the slightest excitement. As long as Muzan survives, no amount of death will have any effect. The only difference is probably to reduce the number of demons. In the second year, Yubuyashiki Amane came to Butterfly Mansion one day and brought a girl named Kanroji Mitsuri, who said she was a new member of the Demon Slayer squad and entrusted Kani to guide her. There is no doubt that Mitsuri also fell in love with you when she first met you. The Butterfly Mansion has another member now. Under the strong request of Mitsuri, you became her master and taught her the relevant knowledge about the breath of flame. Although there are deviations in experience, everyone has embarked on a similar path. From that day on, Yubuyashiki Amane would often come to Butterfly Mansion, calling it to check on Mitsuri's daily life, but you are very clear that the real purpose of the other party is you. You feel very bad. If you continue like this, the abnormal behavior of Yubuyashiki Amane will definitely be exposed, and the members of the Demon Slayer squad who respect Kaguya as a father will definitely not let you go. There will be a terrible battle. You don't want to end up dead. Even though you are reluctant, you still choose to leave Butterfly Mansion temporarily. 1 year has allowed you to improve your strength. But if you want to kill Muzan, your current strength is still far from enough, so you go to Asakusa, Tokyo, find Tameo again, and explain your purpose. This time, Tameo agreed to your request without hesitation. As for the reason a broken bar, you know why a broken bar. 2. Under Tameo's strict request, Yashiro stayed alone in Asakusa, Tokyo, and continued to act as a doctor to treat other patients. She followed you and came to Kamado Tanjiro's house together. Proficiently, you obtained Kamado Tanjiro's approval and learned sun breathing from him. However, the effect of the mole of love is too terrible, whether it is Kamadoki or Kamado Nezuko. Because of this, they have strange emotions towards you. Even after you leave Butterfly Mansion, you are still surrounded by the opposite sex. 3. A broken bar. My God, let me die. For the more and more outrageous simulation experience made Yami wail miserably. What was going through the simulation? Wherever he went, women would be attracted and fall in love with him. This so-called mole of love was too poisonous. Since it contained magic power, those not resistant to it would be killed in seconds. It was a pity that no anti-magic power existed in the world of Demon Slayer. He was doomed. No woman could resist the power of the mole of love. Hurry up and kill the other me. If this continues, I always feel that the situation will become very bad, and maybe I will be torn apart by women. Yami shuddered at the thought of Kaguya and Kamado Tanjiro killing him. He would be hunted down to death by many people. Either way, the traversal simulation didn't stop. Half a year later, Kamado Tanjiro died of exhaustion of vitality, and you helped Kamado's family bury him. Thinking that after a year and a half, Muzan will come here, you propose to move away from this place. This time don't live in the small town down the mountain but in a town not far from the Demon Slayer headquarters. Kamadoki followed your suggestion without hesitation, and the group moved to another town. You have settled down here and are not hurrying to return to the Demon Slayer squad but live here, training Tanjiro Kamado while honing your strength. As for the blood needed by Tameo, Kaguya Yubuyashiki sent someone to send it, and everything is moving in a good direction. After learning of your whereabouts, the Butterfly Three Sisters and the Mitsuri arrived at the same time, and after having a pleasant exchange with Kamadoki, they also moved in here. When you realize it's too late. The yard has become your harem. 1. The sweet and gentle big sister, the cute and shy girl, the cold and arrogant girl, the elegant and intellectual mature woman. Many women are around you, teasing you all the time. Under such conditions you couldn't control yourself and finally had a further relationship with them half-heartedly. When you realize what you have done, you suddenly feel extremely annoyed and disgusted with your behavior. At the same time, you You realize that you can't continue to be decadent like this. You bid farewell to everyone and set foot on the road to forge your sword alone in the village. Chapter 35, Chapter 0035, What if the final boss likes you? 11. You plan to go to a place without women to hone your strength and will. Kagayubu agreed to your application. You successfully arrived at Swordsmith Village and killed many weak demons on the way. But what makes you feel strange is that the number of such weak demons seems to have increased recently. You didn't care about this. After arriving at Swordsmith Village, apart from daily training every day, the rest of the time was spent learning to forge. At the same time, you were constantly fighting with the training puppet, and your understanding of sun breathing has become more and more profound. 1. Without the hindrance of other distracting thoughts, your strength improved rapidly. In addition to not opening the markings, you have mastered the complete sun breathing and transparent world and even developed a new technique by strengthening your grip method of opening. You have become more threatening. Almost no one in the Demon Slayer team is your opponent. You have successfully surpassed the strongest stone Hashiera. This news also gave Kagayubu the hope of defeating the demons and ending the curse of more than 1,000 years. At the same time, you also took out the 2 skills of the transparent world to improve the overall strength of the Demon Slayer team. All the Hashiras are ecstatic and happy that they can improve their strength. In addition, the girls who stayed in the small town and are close to you wrote letters respectively, expressing their longing for you. While the steady improvement in strength made you happy, you also started to miss the previous days. However, you did not choose to leave Swordsmith Village. You still stayed here, honing your various strengths. 2. In the 3rd year, your strength has steadily improved. In the 4th year, you have fully mastered the rest of the strength except for the mark. You feel that the speed of improvement has slowed, so you stop thinking about continuing training and plan to leave Swordsmith Village for a walk. You go back to the Demon Slayer team to see how the Hashiras are progressing in strength. If the progress is satisfactory, you can consider luring Muzan to come out and wipe him out completely. You bid farewell to everyone in Swordsmith Village and chose to leave. 3 nights later, an unexpected person appeared before you with a familiar face that you would never mistake. It was Muzan. But he was a she. He was in a woman form. 2. Muzan found you, surrounded you with other demon, and wanted to bring you back to Infinite Castle. 1. After an explanation, you find out that Muzan learned of your existence through the memory in Dama's mind. Unfortunately, he was in a female form at that time and unfortunately was hit by the effect of the black mole of love. 10. Muzan ordered all the demons under her command to look for your traces and finally found the approximate location through the pictures left by the demons you beheaded on the way to Swordsmith Village. Because she couldn't find your specific location, she waited and finally intercepted you after waiting a long time. When you heard this, your face turned pale. Muzan asked you to take the initiative to return with her, but you would rather die than follow. You pull out the perfect Nichiren sword you created and prepare to go to war. However, the tacit cooperation of the 6 upper moons suppressed you to death. Even with the breath of the sun coupled with the increase of transparent world, you can only remain defeated. No matter how powerful you are, there is no way to resist this situation. In the end, the war ended, and you were unfortunately captured because of exhaustion. You were brought back to Infinite Castle. 1. A broken Bano, you're kidding me. Yami's face was livid, his teeth clenched, and his eyes twisted angrily. He really wanted to kill someone. Muzan had been affected by the mole of love, willingly turned into a woman for him, and even forgot his original intention to solve his fear of the sun. There were so many demons just surrounding him alone. It was so exaggerated. I'm a broken bar. I'm tired. Kill me. Yami didn't know what to say anymore. Yami's whole body had completely lost color. He didn't want to care about the next development anymore. He just wanted to die. You were brought back to the Infinite Castle, but you were not imprisoned, nor was your freedom restricted too much. Besides being unable to leave the Infinite Castle, Muzan allows you to do anything. Muzan ordered all the demons to lie dormant and stop hunting deliberately. She puts more thoughts on you and is with you almost daily, expressing her love all the time, but you can't accept it. Continuous refusals annoyed Muzan a bit. and she planned to force the demons to attack humans and eat them, but you would rather die than surrender and threatened to commit suicide. Muzan was afraid of your death, so she stopped her compulsive thoughts and, at the same time, arranged for Darky to stay by your side at all times to prevent you from doing any stupid things. Darky has hinted countless times in private that she can let you do whatever you want, but you still don't have the idea. You wanted to escape several times but were all discovered by Muzan, who took you back. After realizing that you could not escape, you gave up this idea and put all your thoughts on training. Darky reported this situation to Muzan, who acquiesced in your behavior. Chapter 36, Chapter 0036, Beauty Saved the World. Muzan chose to ignore your behavior. Even if you possessed the power that made her feel afraid, she still didn't choose to kill you but used the human way, intending to impress you with her gentle attitude. You are extremely determined and have not been moved by Muzan's sugar-coated actions. In the 5th year, you are still imprisoned in the Infinite Castle, unable to communicate with anyone outside and pass on your own news. In the 6th year, the Demon Slayer squad caused quite a stir because of your disappearance. The girls close to you didn't believe you were dead and frantically searched for you worldwide. The strength of the Demon Slayer squad was more or less weakened. In the 7th year, you stay in the Infinite Castle, accompanied only by Darky daily. Although Darky looks beautiful and is obedient to you, you know very well that there is nothing more than a pink skeleton in front of you. Darky's big brother Gyutaro is not worthy of sympathy either. In the 8th year, your strength has stopped growing. You have reached the limit, whether it is swordsmanship, breathing techniques, or physical fitness. You can no longer endure this life, so you act against the woman. You defeated Darky, Gyutaro, Gyoko, Hanteng-u, Akaza, and Dama successfully. Sun breathing cuts their bodies, and the sun's power restricts the recovery of all demons. However, when you are fighting Kokushibo, the opponent's strength far exceeds your expectations, almost equal to yours, but the body of the demon gives him a lot of help. You fought for a day and a night and finally won by one move after the mark was activated simultaneously, but in the end, you fell to the ground due to exhaustion and heavy injuries. In this state, you can no longer continue fighting with Muzan and only admit your failure. You choose to beg for death, as you don't want to continue being imprisoned, but Muzan is unwilling to kill you, even if she can't get your heart. Muzan stretched out her index finger and pierced your heart. A large amount of demon blood poured in. She wants to transform you into a demon and keep you by her side forever. You don't want to become a demon again. You use the breath of the sun when the demon blood transforms your body. The scorching temperature instantly makes your blood boil. The opposing natural forces cannot be compatible, and the breath of the sun wins. Your body starts to spontaneously combust first. Your legs and then your hands are completely reduced to ashes. 1. This phenomenon shocked all the demons at the scene, but what happened next surprised everyone, including you. Muzan, who witnessed you turning into a raging fire, couldn't help but exclaim and tried her best to extinguish the flames on your body, but it had no effect other than burning herself. Your eyes show relief. At this moment, Muzan and Darky suddenly jumped up and directly beside you. Their entire bodies were covered with the sun's fire on your body, and they turned into ashes together with you. 2. With the death of Muzan, all the demons lost their brains and dispersed all over the world at the same time. The curse of the 1,000-year-old evil spirit has been completely broken, and you have saved the world with your beauty. 2. But you are still dead. 2. A broken bar hit you right now. 1. Yami, who was already very angry, suddenly fell into a rage. His eyes widened, his face flushed, and he jumped up from the bed. His hands kept punching around as if he was looking for something. Now he really wanted to split this system in his body. How the hell was it called saving the world with beauty? Putting it here was shocking, right? It was obviously a world where you team up to fight bosses, but it was a sad love story. What kind of behavior did the boss and Darky do in the end? 1. What about martyrdom? Did he make a mistake? System, can you explain why I spontaneously combust when traveling through the simulated world? Yami gritted his teeth and asked, I can accept the explanation that the breath of the sun and demon blood cannot coexist. But even if I want to die, it should be silently reduced to ashes. The breath of the sun and the demon blood are existences like heaven and earth. When the two meet, they will fight each other, resulting in a fierce reaction that triggers the sun's fire and kills the host body. Neither humans nor demons can bear that kind of flame. 5. It was undoubtedly the first time that Yami's question was answered. This was probably because the traversing simulation system feared its host would go berserk, so it reluctantly explained it. No matter what, such a result was undoubtedly disgusting, and it was simply too unacceptable to even commit suicide. Fortunately, the situation was not particularly bad. At least what Yami didn't want to see the most was the scene where he was forced to bow by the tyrannical female demon in the simulated world, and thank God it did not appear. Otherwise, he would definitely not be able to sleep tonight. But even so, Yami still swore secretly in his heart. In the future, he will definitely not choose such a perverted talent to not disgust himself. Chapter 37, Chapter 0037, Compensation from the system. Because of your death, the simulation is over, and settlement is progressing. The final settlement is completed. You have survived for 7 years and 3 months, and the final evaluation rank is S. You can choose 2 rewards from the following rewards. A purple talent, A middle dot forging master, green talent, A middle dot mole of love, 5A inverted exclamation mark race change, turning into a demon, A sense sun breathing and its supporting swordsmanship, A pound this simulated combat experience and forging experience, A currency opening the mark without side effects. 1. There were 5 rewards to choose from, which made Yami somewhat surprised. Not only that, but the final evaluation reached rank S. Honestly, this was the biggest surprise. Among the 5 rewards, except for the second one, Yami wanted the other 4, but unfortunately, he could only choose 2. Among the 2 talents, although the mole of love was more cheating in the simulation process, it was undoubtedly a very good ability if it could be possessed in reality. 1. Sun breathing was undoubtedly the most powerful breathing method. If other breathing methods were only physical attacks, sun breathing was completely magical. Although people rather than moves were powerful, at the same level, flame breathing was not comparable to sun breathing. The last was combat experience and forging experience, as well as unlocking markings without side effects. They were all very useful choices. No matter which one Yami chose, he could get a good improvement. Unfortunately, there were too few choices, only 2. Yami had to be careful while choosing the reward. Although the traversal simulation process this time is a bit cheating, no matter what, at least the result is good, and the final evaluation reached rank S. But having said that, how about choosing the 2 best ones first and then continuing to collect rewards? I want 1, 3, 4, and 5 if I can get them all. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became, and he had already started to think about the feasibility. Then the next moment, the familiar mechanical sound sounded again. Ding! Friendly reminder, since the host has obtained an S-level evaluation in the traversal simulation, the normal traversal simulation function has been temporarily closed, and the real person simulation function has been turned on. This is the last simulation opportunity in the current world. Suppose you can obtain an S-level evaluation again. In that case, the host will have the opportunity to fully open the world of Demon Slayer. 1. Of course, the host can also give up the opportunity of real-life simulation. The world of Demon Slayer will be removed from the traversal simulation world, and then the system will re-extract the simulation world. Yami. So the 2 remaining opportunities for him today were just invalidated. So now, was it good news or bad news? Yami got an unexpected S-level evaluation but lost 2 simulation opportunities. No matter how you think about it, it was a loss. System, you said that there is no chance for ordinary time travel simulations, but you have to at least compensate me. Today's 2 simulations are now invalid. If I don't do real person simulations later, will the number of simulations given daily be the same? Yami's words were quite sharp. The room was silent. Only the beating of his own heart could be heard. After a while, the mechanical sound of the system sounded again. Ding! Questioned by the host, something unreasonable was detected and is now being repaired. Compensation has been made. The number of selected rewards for the host has changed to 4, and among the 5 randomly obtained rewards in this simulation, 4 can be selected as rewards. 4. The same problem will not be repeated in the future, and the compensation will only be given once. I hope the host will understand. Can I only choose 4? 2. Hearing the voice in his head, Yami was still a little dissatisfied. After all, there were infinite possibilities for the reward of crossing the simulation, but the compensation was now small. But he knew that some compensation was already the biggest concession of the system. There seemed to be nothing unacceptable. Yami stared at the white screen for a long time, and finally, he could only sigh and make a choice. System, I have accepted this compensation plan. Except for the race change, I want all the other 4 rewards. There should be no problem with this, right? Yami said silently in his heart. Met the compensation requirements and reward choice successfully. After a moment of silence, the system's voice sounded again. Immediately afterward, a familiar feeling of pain emerged in Yami's mind, and many memories appeared as if engraved deep in his mind. Yami absorbed these memories and knowledge fascinatedly, feeling his skills crazily improving. Due to the rules of the world, talents are being converted. The purple talent A middle dot forging master is transformed into the development ability forging B, which can be improved through hard work. The green talent A middle dot mole of love is transformed into the magic mole of love D, which can be freely turned on or off. 12. Because the skill requires the use of magic power, it can increase the magic power value during use. The successive sounds made Yami's expression extremely exciting. This compensation seemed to be stronger than expected, and it also solved one of his biggest worries. Yosha. Chapter 38, Chapter 0038, Re-entering the dungeon. After realizing the 4 rewards, Yami felt his strength had improved significantly. The familiar flame tattoo appeared on his chest, exactly the same as the logo of the Hephaestus familiar of Hephaestus. The only difference was that it was slightly shrunk. The sense of power coming from all body parts made Yami exclaim subconsciously. The mark without side effects was really powerful. The mole of love can be turned on and off by itself. As long as it is turned on, even if it is using magic, it is equivalent to outputting magic power, and the magic power value will increase steadily. It is really timely rain. For Yami, who originally felt a little sad because of the simulation results, was happy and delighted. Misfortune was where blessings rested, and blessing was where misfortune lies. This sentence was not without reason. Now he didn't need to worry about the magic stat. Becoming an all-rounder warrior was also a certainty. But what needed attention was probably when the mole of love was turned on. For although the Labyrinth City Oreo has a large base of adventurers, not all were stronger than Yami, so the probability of women being affected by magic was very high. He was now the male version of the god of beauty Freya. The difference was that the mole of love would be gentler, not forcibly charming. Yami decided it would be better not to activate this magic in crowded places to avoid trouble. When he thought of too many women falling in love with him, good-looking and bad-looking, under the influence of magic again, the feeling was not as wonderful as he had imagined. It was a pity that it was not simple to become stronger or acquire skills later on. The evaluation has reached S rank, the normal simulation function has been blocked, and only real-life time travel simulation can be performed. But with his current strength, it is really not necessarily possible to defeat Muzin, and there is only one chance. After a short period of joy, Yami began to think about the future again. Let's not talk about whether he had that strength. Even if he did, according to Muzin's vigilance, if he knew that Yami's existence could threaten his existence, he would definitely hide again. 2. Therefore, Yami will not conduct a real-life simulation without full confidence. It seems that the traversal simulation system can't be used for the time being. The real-person simulation can only be performed after my status value has accumulated to the maximum, and I successfully level up. Yami thought so in his heart. In fact, according to his prediction, the maximum level of LV.1 should be enough to deal with Kokushibo. If through exquisite cooperation, it may be impossible to routinely reach Musin. 4. But to be on the safe side, it would be better to be a little more secure. It didn't matter whether he could gain control of the world of Demon Slayer. The reward after clearing the level was what Yami desired. My only shortcoming now is my basic physical fitness. It seems that I will need to enter the dungeon more in the days to come. After all, forging can be temporarily put on hold. My current forging experience is not much worse than those senior blacksmiths. After clarifying the future direction, Yami naturally took a deep breath, and his body relaxed. Although the process had some twists and turns, everything was moving well. But it's a little difficult to wait until tomorrow. Now I want to try to see what level my strength has reached. Although he and Tsubaki had entered the dungeon yesterday, because of this reason, he couldn't do his best. Now that his strength had improved again, to be honest, Yami had no way to continue to endure until tomorrow. Sitting on the bed silently, he suddenly sat up. The next moment, a figure left the room in an instant and tiptoed toward the direction of the Tower of Babel. Yami even used the mark and transparent world to avoid being discovered by others. The weapon shop closed early, and no one else was guarding it. Yami left the blacksmith shop without any hindrance and disappeared into the night. A broken bar walking against the flow of people all the way to the Tower of Babel, hiding his figure to avoid all sight, and entering the underground city. The dungeon at night was completely different from that during the day, and the number of adventurers was much smaller than that. This was probably because there would be more monsters at night, and their strength would be stronger. Most adventurers would not choose to enter the dungeon at night. Along the way, the lights were extremely dim, and the stone walls along the way seemed to have turned into a man-eating devil's cave, and powerful monsters could be spawned at any time to kill the enemy. Even the weakest goblin possessed terrifying power at this time. However, even though the monsters fell into a furious state, they still had no power to fight back in front of Yami. He didn't even use sun breathing and its supporting swordsmanship and just relied on his fists to push forward easily. If fighting the frog shooter yesterday took him a lot of effort, it could now be called child's play for Yami. All kinds of skills still hadn't appeared, and that time hasn't come yet. The monsters encountered today were all killer ants. As a rookie killer, Yami intended to find a suitable terrain and then let these killer ants in front of him attract more companions. If adventurers wanted to become stronger quickly, they naturally had to constantly challenge their limits. Yami was going to do that now. A Broken Bar Chapter 39, Chapter 0039. The shortcomings visible to the naked eye. After a while, the dense crowd of killer ants seemed to be hunters who sensed their prey and gathered toward Yami's position. The location had been carefully selected and could be described as perfect. The narrow passage limited the number of killer ants that could pass through. Even though the killer ants were terrifying, few monsters could come before them. Yami frowned slightly as he looked at the monsters emerging one after another in the passage and the wall as if they were giving birth. The unique chirping sound of ants echoed in his ears, enough to make most people feel a tingling scalp. Yami's expression was calm as usual, and he held his right hand in the air, and the exclusive Nichiren sword appeared in the palm of his hand. Not only was its blade straight, but it also had a handle that could be held with both hands. This was probably the blade created by the system based on the expectations in his mind. The quantity is still considerable, so I am happy. A slight murmur sounded, and Yami, holding a sword in both hands, rushed forward. Countless killer ants roared and swarmed in groups. Kai, 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 kai. 3 In the empty dungeon, the silent passage was filled with the sounds of ants and collisions. The sharp blade sliced a across, easily cutting the killer ant in front of him. Yami's figure was moving around in the crowd of monsters. Each sword killed a killer ant while avoiding the sharp teeth attacks of other killer ants around him. If it was an attack that couldn't be avoided, he simply moved and took it at a less fatal part of the body. This would also increase the endurance stat. As time passed, Yami gradually got used to the attacking methods of the killer ants. Even though the number of monsters around was still huge, they could no longer oppress him too much. At this time, fighting was no longer fighting but an art. This is no longer pressuring, so let's go deeper. Yami kept moving his hands, but his heart was extremely active, But before that, let's get rid of this group of killer ants in front. So broken bar his expression froze, and he kicked a killer ant out with one kick and raised the Nichiren sword in his hand suddenly, and with each breath, he suddenly sent out a high-speed slash. Flame breathing forth form a blooming flame. One in an instant, swordsmanship, like a vortex of flames, left the body, and the dense sword edge smashed all the monsters in front of him to pieces. A vacuum zone instantly appeared in the narrow passage, and the air was filled with the smell of burning flames. Second form a rising scorching sun. 2. The Nichiren sword from the bottom up cuts down the monsters falling from the hole above the head. Yami's movements didn't stop, and he swung the sword again with the inertia of forward and falling, and his whole person instantly exuded an unstoppable might. Third form a blazing universe. A fiery slash from top to bottom pierced through the oncoming killer ants and hit the place where the monsters were most dense. One boom. When the sword energy fell to the ground, the monsters in the area were instantly shattered, and some of them seemed to be burned by flames, and the concussion caused by the explosion spread to the surroundings. In an instant, the crowded monster tide emptied part of the area. However, the vacated area was quickly filled by subsequent killer ants. Looking at the number of monsters that didn't seem to have decreased much, Yami frowned slightly and, at the same time, couldn't help being slightly speechless. TSK, it's really difficult. This amount is really beyond the reach of ordinary people. Even I am a little tired, so I can't delay any longer. Due to the strenuous exercise just now, Yami was a little out of breath. Although he had acquired many powerful skills through the travel simulation, his most basic body had not been significantly enhanced, and the only thing that was bestowed was skills and experience. Although the killer ants in front of him were not considered strong, they were huge in number. So, it was time to end this battle. Flame-breathing fifth former Flame Tiger. 1. Perhaps because of the magic power, the flame generated by Yami's thrust turned into a flaming tiger, roaring and attacking the killer ants. The terrifying flames devoured many killer ants, and the shrill screams resounded throughout the passage. Crackling, there were sounds like fried chestnuts one after another, and the smell of burning made Yami subconsciously hold his breath. The remaining killer ants gathered, and the top of the cave cracked open again. An individual clearly different from ordinary killer ants sprang out, making piercing screams and constantly provoking. As soon as it landed, a lot of dust was thrown up. Obviously, this was an enhanced species used by dungeons to clean up adventurers, and there was only a very small chance of it appearing. Yami didn't expect to encounter it. Do you still want to struggle to the death? Then I will destroy you completely. Flame breathing, 9th form Rengoku. 6. Boom. The flame column roared past, and everything along the way was completely shattered. Even the magic stone in the monster's body was burned to the ground by the terrifying flames. One on the Nichiren sword in his hand swung violently and then slowly retracted into the scabbard. Looking back, there was only a line of corpses behind him. Chapter 40, Chapter 0040, You are not worthy of my friendship. After the battle, Yami immediately slumped to the ground. There were a few strengthened ones in the number of killer ants. Even if such a monster was only equivalent to an LV.1 adventurer, the sense of oppression it brought was terrifying. Yami's current physical fitness was still short, and it was not easy to achieve this level. Sitting on the spot and resting for a while, his physical strength recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. After regaining the ability to move, Yami stood up slowly, looking at the mess around him. His mood became complicated. Many broken limbs were scattered on the ground, many of which had been recovered by the dungeon. The battle was so violent that he smashed the magic stones in many monsters, and there was no way to collect them. As for the remaining ones, they still need to be excavated one by one. At this time, Yami began to envy the world of the anime version of Danmachi. As long as the monster was killed, the magic stone would fall by itself, and there was no need to dig it out with your own hands. Not only was it more convenient, but it could also save more time. How could it be like this now? How cool was his fighting posture just now? How embarrassing was this task? It looks like I need to find a supporter when I enter the dungeon in the future. Even while complaining, the movements of his hands did not stop at all. After all, as an adventurer, The source of income was only the magic stone in front of him. Although Yami could make money by making or repairing weapons for others, he didn't particularly like that kind of life. Once in a while, it may be okay, but doing it continuously was not something he could do. After an hour, most dropped items and magic stones were collected, and the remaining bits and pieces were thrown aside. Yami's physical strength had recovered, and he felt that he was in a healthy state. His original plan to return to the ground was changed again at this time. Since I'm already here, better take advantage of this opportunity to go deeper. Although it was impossible to go too far, going down a few floors was still no problem. However, this time it was not to try to fight but to explore the structure of the dungeon and learn about the attack methods of monsters on deeper floors. In the same way, it would also help him judge the drops on the lower floors, such as the quality of the materials, the level of strength of the monsters, and so on. Intentionally avoiding fighting, Yami reached the 10th level smoothly. The surrounding environment changed when he walked out of the rotating passage. The underground cave turned into a pure white field. The white-gray tender white branches had no leaves, and the grass was like a silver-gray wilderness. The entire area seems to have been smeared with a layer of silver, like a missing color. In Yami's line of sight, many more powerful auras than the killer ants were looming. Just as he was observing the surrounding layout, a burst of noisy footsteps suddenly came from a distance. Several figures rushed towards the stairs at high speed in the depths of the silver wilderness, and each had more or less faint scars. This seemed to be a team of adventurers consisting of 5 people. Judging from the leather armor they wore and the shields they held in their hands, they didn't look like rookies, but they weren't powerful adventurers either. They could only be regarded as senior adventurers among the lower-level adventurers. Not far behind this team, several huge green-skinned monsters were chasing them. Seeing that the distance between the two was getting closer, the green-skinned monster had already caught up within a few breaths. The young man wearing leather armor and holding a shield turned his head and saw the monster that was close at hand. He looked at his companion in front of him with horror and shouted loudly, "Help Ma Broken Bar Puff." Before he could finish his words, he was hit on the head by a huge wooden stick, accompanied by a sound like a watermelon breaking. The white grass was stained red with blood, and then his broken body smashed onto the grass. "Damn it, Tom was killed too." "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up to the upper floors. These orcs are not something we can deal with. Run." Witnessing the death of their companions with their own eyes, the remaining adventurers were all plunged into endless fear. The threat of death weighed on their hearts, and they wished they could grow 2 more legs at this moment. The direction this group of people was running was the staircase entrance where Yami was. There are still people in the dungeon at this time. These guys are really hard-working, but the appearance of being hunted down is really embarrassing enough. Yami had a panoramic view of the situation and couldn't help shaking his head. Although Aureo was the city of dreams, adventurers were also glamorous, but they were not as gorgeous as they appeared on the surface. They often faced much more life and death crises than ordinary people. To become a master, you need to pay a corresponding price. Perhaps, ordinary people became adventurers, from the bottom of one class to the bottom of another class. TSK. It seems I meet the trash of the dungeon. Just when this idea appeared in Yami's mind, the situation on the field changed suddenly. A Palom, little human, carrying a huge package, was running at the forefront among the adventurer team, and several others arrived at the intersection one after another. But when the green-skinned monsters approached, a companion behind her suddenly grabbed the backpack and pulled it back forcefully. The huge force instantly made her lose her center of gravity, and she fell directly to the ground, and the orcs who swarmed over had already raised their sticks. A Broken Bar. Chapter 41, Chapter 0041, Who is the hunter? Who is the prey? The supporter Palom fell to the ground, her face hidden in the hood showing a look of despair. On the other hand, the adventurer who did all this did not show the slightest guilt on his face. Instead, he had a look of reason and even had time to explain to the rest of his companions. Anyway, it's a useless supporter. Being able to attract aggro is already her greatest use. We usually spend so much mana to support her. Now it's time to make sacrifices for the team. 3. The high-sounding words stunned the other adventurers at the same time. However, the fear of death soon overcame moral values. As long as they could survive, the life and death of other people had nothing to do with them. This was a true portrayal of the hearts of some adventurers. Peter is right. Compared with us adventurers, supporters are not worth mentioning at all. It is only natural to make sacrifices. Let's escape first and then bring someone to rescue her. That's right. Let's go to the ground and call for support. The remaining guilt in everyone's hearts completely disappeared with a few words. They turned around with cold expressions, no longer looked behind them, and completely abandoned their former volunteer companions, like throwing garbage in exchange for their chances of survival. Only the supporter Palom was left, grumbling under the attack of the orcs. They really made me see an unforgettable scene. Yami, who had witnessed the whole process, stood on the stairs with a disdainful sneer. Sure enough, there are trash everywhere. Disgusting, but that's what humans are. The sudden sound made everyone show vigilance. On the only way to the upper floor, Yami looked at them without emotion. Obviously, he had seen everything that had happened just now. It also meant that the murder of the supporter was also seen by this kid. The Adventurers Guild clearly stipulates that adventurers cannot fight privately. Anything can be resolved through the arena of the Gainshaw Familiar or directly start the Familiar War. The consequences will be very serious if you kill other adventurers in private. Of course, rules are dead, but people are alive. The Adventurers Guild can't maintain surveillance on all adventurers at all times, and the dungeon is also very large, and some adventurers with unscrupulous intentions will choose to seek wealth and death in it. There are even some adventurers who work directly in Oreo in such a way. Since their behavior is seen by others, it is natural to deal with it. Hey, kid. Did you see anything just now? A tall man with red hair and red eyes holding a red blade walked towards Yami without expression and asked in a rough voice. He did not forget to wink at the other companions in the process. All of a sudden, several adventurers surrounded Yami directly. However, the latter didn't care about the actions of these guys. They were just a bunch of jumping clowns. If you are referring to your despicable actions just now, then I have indeed seen it. Doing such things with a high-resounding excuse is an eye-opener for me. However, if you think about it, you don't dare to fight orcs at all, but you are quite proficient in dealing with humans, so are you trying to kill me now? Hey, we didn't want to at first, but if you want to blame someone, you can blame yourself. Why did you just happen to be here? Why did you just happen to see that thing? In the next life, remember what you can say and what you can't say. 4 cruel smiles appeared on the faces of all the adventurers, and almost all of them drew their weapons. There will be no other adventurers coming here for the time being, so no one will know what we have done, so you can go with peace of mind. Rest assured, with that damned Palom accompanying you, you will not be alone, said the tall man with red hair. Hearing these words, Yami raised his head slowly, looked over the crowd to the Palom supporter who was not far away, and the other party was almost unable to hold on. There's no time to chat. And it seems you already said your last words, so you can die. What? Yami's words made everyone feel puzzled, even full of disdain. They didn't feel any powerful aura from Yami's body at all. Apart from looking better, the other party's ordinary appearance didn't have the posture that a high-level adventurer should have at all. A low-level adventurer who wanted to fight against so many of them was looking for death. However, the next moment they paid the price for their contempt. Flame-breathing a first form. The ferocious flames arced past, and Yami's figure flickered past. The adventurers who were so arrogant just now, who wanted to kill and silence him, didn't react at all at this time. They only felt a scorching temperature whistling past, followed by severe pain. Looking down, everyone's chest had been left with a deep and visible scar at some point. The high temperature scorched the wound, leaving dark marks that only appeared after being scorched. Ear-piercing screams sounded one after another, followed by heavy objects falling. Only innocent people can sleep peacefully. You just lie on the ground and enjoy your last time. Yami turned his head to the side. His eyes were cold, and then he jumped straight down the stairs and came directly to the central area of the orcs. Chapter 42, Chapter 0042, If you do something wrong, you must pay the price. One flame-breathing a fourth form. Above the silver wasteland, bright flames shot out instantly. Just in the blink of an eye, the terrifying flaming sword energy roared past, igniting even the sparse weeds on the ground, and the original silver world instantly turned into a sea of flames. The bodies of all orcs were rigid and severed from the waist and neck. With a gust of wind blowing from a distance, the flames swayed slightly, and all the previous roars and the peculiar stench of orcs were blown away by the wind. The strength of orcs is not as terrible as imagined. Compared with killer ants, they are stronger in body and strength, but their speed is not outstanding, and their number is only this level. Yami put away the blade calmly. Everything in front of him had turned into a wasteland. He probably understood his specific strength now, at least among the lowest level adventurers. He was definitely the type with no opponents, and even some weak LV.2s were not his opponents either. 2. If he waits until his stats are improved, fighting people above his level is not a fantasy. However, suppose you want to increase the speed of acquiring proficiency. In that case, these orcs are good training objects, but the number of monsters needed to increase further. Are you okay? Withdrawing his gaze from the half-orc corpse on the ground, Yami looked down at Palom, sitting on the ground. No, I'm fine. Thank you for saving me, adventurer. The care of Yami flattered the Palom, who was in despair. She wanted to get up, but she had just been dragged back from the brink of death and was exhausted and even lost the strength to stand up. It's fine. If you can't stand up, just sit down. No one can keep calm in the face of death, even me. Take a good rest. I still have some things to deal with. After the voice fell, Yami moved his eyes slowly in the direction he came from. Further away, the previous group of adventurers was already looking at their situation with dull expressions. The scars left on the body did not reduce their pain, making everyone's facial expressions distorted. They seemed to have messed with the wrong person. Just one slash. The half-orc group that made their team scared was easily dealt with. While swinging the sword, brilliant flames appeared, which was obviously magic. One adventurers with magic were the backbone of each familiar, and they were not something that low-level adventurers like them could provoke. In addition to the long sword in Yami's hand, even though there was no inscription, the blade's pattern was exquisite. It was obviously a high-end product, and the level of the man in front of him should have reached at least LV.3 or above. Now it's your turn. Yami slowly came in front of this group of scumbag, his voice full of flatness. However, the movement obviously didn't carry any murderous intent, but it made all the adventurers lying on the ground horrified, as if a hand was pinching their throats. Even their breathing is stagnant. You don't come here. We were just joking just now. As for pushing that Palom, we didn't do it on purpose. We just wanted to survive. You can't kill me. The Adventurers Guild does not allow adventurers to fight privately. If you do something to me, my God will not let you go. At that time, you will face punishment from the Adventurers Guild and even the whole of Oreo. You don't want to face that situation. As long as you let me go, I can give you everything on my body, and we can be friends. How about it? Noticing the gathering of Yami's gaze, the red-haired adventurer hurriedly begged for mercy, with threatening words mixed in. Trying to survive. After hearing his words, the other adventurers, still in a daze, rushed to speak. Yes, that's right. You can't kill us. We were just joking before. If you really do something to us, the familiar members behind us and the Adventurers Guild will never let you go. If you let us go, we can hand over what we have as compensation and then make friends. Oreo is so big. There are many friends and many paths. One for the sake of a mere Palom. There's no need to make the relationship like this. What do you think? Everyone looked expectantly at Yami, nervously waiting for the latter's response. As for the supporter Palom, who was in deep crisis just now, her face hidden under the hood showed a complex expression, but she didn't know what to say. It seemed that all she could do was to persuade him. That's right. She wanted to persuade Yami not to be impulsive and let these guys go. Although the group of guys in front of her were all scumbags, What they said made sense. Murder was a serious matter in Orario, an iron law that was absolutely not allowed to be violated. Even if she was unwilling, it was better to stop Yami. However, before the supporter could speak, Yami spoke first. Sounds good. I believe in friendship and want to show you all my friendship. The uneasy adventurers looked happy, and when they were about to say something, Yami's expression froze, and his painting style changed suddenly. Friendship can indeed build a solid line of defense, but I will never be friends with someone who is unworthy of my friendship. 1. Unfortunately for you, you four are unworthy. You made this decision, then you need to pay the price for it. Chapter 43, Chapter 0043, Lily Yukuad. While speaking, Yami had already pulled out the Nichiren sword again. The adventurers who thought they were saved instantly fell from heaven to hell. The opponent's powerful strength was not something they could resist, let alone being seriously injured now. You can't kill us. Otherwise, the Adventurers Guild won't let you go. Everyone roared at the top of their lungs as if they were in the final madness. However, they couldn't shake Yami no matter what they said or did. If they just betrayed their partner, he can let them go since it's not his business, but they want to kill him. Yami never forgave those who wanted to do him harm. Unfortunately, no one will know who killed you, so your threats have no effect on me. After all, the dungeon is full of dangers. Unfortunately, people die here to the monsters daily. I believe this reason can be accepted by the Adventurers Guild and you're familiar. To you, even their excuses had been found. Obviously, there was no room for maneuvering. All the adventurers made eye contact in private and saw the fierceness in the depths of each other's eyes. Go to hell. Since he wanted to kill them, they did not need to continue bowing down to Yami. It was clear to them that if they couldn't defeat or kill Yami, the next thing waiting for them would be death. Either way, they were dead, so they had to strike first. A wise choice, but unfortunately, you don't have that ability. The Nichiren sword in his hand slashed across without mercy and easily cut the throats of several adventurers. The crushing strength made Yami do all this without any effort. He took away a fresh life by simply lifting and chopping the sword. Screams came and went, complementing the scene of blood spurting. After a few breaths, only one was left among the adventurers who rose up to resist. That was the culprit who yelled at Yami and threw down the Palam supporter. Looking at the deaths of his companions, this strong man was on the verge of collapse. Clang! The blade in his hand fell to the ground with a crisp sound. No! Don't kill me, I apologize, it's all my fault. I shouldn't use other people as bait. I shouldn't have the idea of killing you. It's all my fault. Please don't kill me. I swear, I will never say anything about this matter today, please. The red-haired man knelt on the ground, constantly begging, his head frantically hitting the ground. Due to the excessive force, his forehead was bleeding, but to survive, he ignored the pain and continued to maintain his movements. Are you going to kill him yourself? Yami ignored the man in front of him and looked at the Palam in the distance. Huh? Being asked suddenly, the little supporter was obviously at a loss, and her heart was a little moved, but in the end, she shook her head. Her expression was very calm. It's not necessary, thank you, Mr. Adventurer, for your kindness, but I am used to the betrayal of adventurers who form a temporary team. Killing people in Orario is a felony, so you don't dare? Yami was obviously dissatisfied with the other party's answer. It was one thing for betrayals to happen frequently, but it was another thing for them to not even dare to take revenge after being betrayed. Sometimes, if you were bullied and dared not resist, it was your fault. What a disappointing answer. I originally thought you would choose to resist, but now it seems that you have chosen to obey in this deformed environment, so there is no other way. However, I still want to give you a piece of advice. If a person keeps his eyes open, he can seize the opportunity sooner or later to take revenge even on the most powerful person. Revenge is the most delicious dish only when it is served cold. I hope you can understand the meaning of these words. Goodbye. No one will save you so well next time. After the words fell, Yami swung his sword and beheaded the last adventurer. He dug out and put away the magic stone in the orc's body, turned around, and walked towards the stairs. The strength of the orcs had been tested, and the next ones would be the infant dragon and the more powerful minotaur. It was getting late, and Yami didn't plan to spend the night in the dungeon. As for the crime scene, there was no need to deal with it personally. Whether it was a monster or a human, they could be cleaned up on their behalf by the dungeon. As for whether the supporter will leak this matter to the public, Yami didn't care. No one could prove that he killed someone. Yami didn't mind killing one more person, either. Looking at the figure that was about to go away, the little Palam, who fell into deep thought because of that sentence, came back to her senses in an instant, summoned up the courage to raise her head, and shouted in Yami's direction, "Master Adventurer, thank you for your help. I will remember your advice, and I will try to change. Also, my name is Lilyrukuad, and I will repay you in the future." For what responded to her was only a slight wave of Yami's right hand. A Broken Bar Chapter 44, Chapter 0044, I will come back alive. After an hour. It was already late at night when Yami walked out of the dungeon. The hours-long exploration was exhausting physically and mentally. Now that he had returned to a safe environment, Yami immediately felt very relaxed, and even the starry sky at night became extremely beautiful. 1. The life of an adventurer was indeed full of all kinds of excitement. However, it was also very tiring. Walking on the verge of death was not something everyone could bear. Therefore, most adventurers who could not accept this kind of life would give up on entering the dungeon and switch to easier jobs. Yami had seen a different life after coming to Oreo not long ago. No matter how the surrounding situation changed, his goal would never change. Since he had the opportunity to come to the capital of the gods and had infinite possibilities, he must not be willing to fall. No matter what, at least he had to become strong, and experience love with the goddess. Whether it was Hestia or Hephaestus, Yami liked them very much. As for Loki, the god of tricks, forget it. After all, there was really nothing Loki could make people like. 5. You could hear people confessing their love to Hestia or Hephaestus in Oreo, but you will never hear a message from a male adventurer who loved Loki. 1. Sure enough, flat rocks had no human rights. 5. Chew. At this moment, the sneezes from the three goddesses sounded in no particular order. A Broken Bar. However, I never expected that the supporter I rescued would be Lily. It was a little surprising, but it's a pity that her will is almost exhausted, and she doesn't want to resist. Even as a supporter of the Soma family, I would have done my best just to survive. Sure enough, I still don't have the talent of the protagonist, so I'd better not have anything to do with her in the future and let the future hero Belle do this kind of thing. However, Goddess Hestia can't be handed over to that guy Belle. I must think of how to get love from the Goddess Hestia before that rabbit appears. 6. With this idea in mind, Yami quickly disappeared into the night. A Broken Bar squeaked till there was a rattling sound from the wooden door. In the darkness, a figure entered the room lightly. It was Yami, who had just returned from the dungeon to the Hephaestus family. His movements were gentle along the way, and he didn't run into anyone. Presumably, no one could find out that he had left the family residence, so naturally, there was no need to explain too much. Phew. No one has noticed. Let's rest now. I have to go to the captain tomorrow to continue learning forging skills. I don't know when I can create magic equipment. After a sigh of relief, Yami lit the magic stone lamp on the wall. But when he turned around, he froze in place with an embarrassed expression. On the bed near the room wall, Goddess Hephaestus in everyday clothes looked as beautiful as ever, but this time she looked at him with a half smile. Obviously, Hephaestus had completely heard Yami's monologue just now. This was really bad news. Hephaestus-sama, you haven't slept so late. What are you doing here? Yami bit the bullet and greeted Hephaestus. However, it was obviously unrealistic to muddle through at this time. Good evening, Yami. I have been waiting in your room for a long time, but I didn't expect you to return so late. Can you tell me where you went? It didn't sound like a question, but Yami clearly heard dissatisfaction in her voice. Yami hesitated a little, but he could only tell the truth in the end. Sorry for keeping you waiting, Hephaestus-sama. I couldn't sleep at night, so I went to the dungeon to practice independently. I'm only coming back now. Sorry I didn't inform you in advance. You really entered the dungeon. Not feeling the lie, Hephaestus sighed helplessly. There is no need to apologize for this kind of thing, but I still want to say that although our Hephaestus family is a craftsman family, we do not stop entering the dungeon. Yami, there is absolutely no need for you to be so sneaky. The dungeon at night is very dangerous. If you are so reckless, I will worry about you. With a slightly reproachful tone and the caring eye of goddess, Yami was very embarrassed. He had not experienced this type of concern for him for a long time. I'm sorry, Hephaestus-sama, I know I was wrong. I will pay attention in the future, so I won't worry you anymore. Yami patted his arm as if to verify the authenticity of his words. Actually, don't look at me as a newcomer. I'm not as weak as you imagine. If I can't even protect myself, puff. Yami's words came to an abrupt end. A soft touch and charming fragrance completely enveloped him, and before he could react at all, his head was already embraced by Hephaestus. 2. Even though there was an obvious height difference between the two, this action seemed quite normal. In a daze, Yami seemed to hear the whispering voice from the goddess. I know you are very powerful, but Yami, no matter how powerful you become in the future, you must remember that I will wait for you to return to the family residence. 2. I understand, Hephaestus-sama. I will come back alive,